Tonight, a second Australian believed to have joined Al-Qaeda fighters. US tariffs on Australian steel threaten exports and jobs. And a spectacular fireworks explosion sparks emergency evacuations.
With Anne Fulwood, this is 7 News.
Good evening. Tonight, the federal government is investigating claims a second Australian may be fighting with Al-Qaeda troops in Afghanistan. Former Queensland soldier Matthew Stewart disappeared last year, shortly after serving with the Australian Army in East Timor.
Is this man a terrorist? 25-year-old Matthew Stewart is a former Australian Army private. He was among our first troops into East Timor 2.5 years ago. They were the first to confront the militia, the first to face the grim reality of civilian atrocities, and the first to engage in hostile fire. When Matthew Stewart returned, he spent 6 weeks in hospital for depression, then quit the Army.
Matthew found it extremely hard to cope with, and after 5.5 months, when he came back, he was very much, according to his mother, very much a changed person.
He's understood to have converted to Islam in Australia, then left for Afghanistan in August last year. Whether he and now captured fighter David Hicks ever met is unknown, but the Howard government has been aware other Australians were believed to be with the enemy.
We don't know what their whereabouts is. We don't know what activities they've been engaged in.
But there is evidence that Stewart has undergone training with Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda terrorist network. Foreign Affairs has alerted Australian embassies in Iran, Pakistan and Russia to be on the lookout for Stewart. Liam Renton was a childhood friend.
Very popular guy. Everyone liked him. He was friends with everyone.
If Stewart is still alive, he could be engaged in the battle currently raging in Gardez. If he is, it would see him fighting men wearing the same Australian uniform he once served in. In Canberra, Geof Parry, 7 News.
America is warning there could be more coalition casualties as reinforcements are rushed in to fight Al-Qaeda troops in eastern Afghanistan. 7 American soldiers have already been killed near Gardez after they were caught by surprise.
The mission, possibly the most dangerous since enduring freedom began in Afghanistan, still the 10th Mountain Division pushes on. This is why they're here. Up to 800 Taliban and Al-Qaeda fighters are believed to be hiding in these icy mountains at Gardez, just south of the Afghan capital, Kabul. The US Army believes it's already killed hundreds of them.
We'd like them to surrender, but if they want to come into the combat area, we're more than willing to fire on them and kill them.
In this cave, a pet dog has been left behind. Its masters had only just left. There was perhaps no time to take the dog with them. Soldiers found a stash of weapons and documents here. More than 450 bombs have rained down on Al-Qaeda positions since this offensive began on Friday. But American and coalition troops are also exposed to sniper fire. American Defense Department pictures show American troops being dropped into the hot zone. Soldiers advance slowly on what appears to be an abandoned fort, only to walk straight into enemy fire. A sign coalition forces had underestimated how much opposition was waiting for them in these hills. Heavily armed Apache helicopters were also hit hard. Each one returned with bullet holes, 4 out of 10 so badly damaged they were grounded. It was in one of these Chinook helicopters that 7 American servicemen died, the largest single toll of this 5-month-old war. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
Australia is poised for another trade war with the United States over steel. Half of our exports will be slapped with a 30% tariff and unions fear jobs will be lost.
We're friends fighting terrorism, but in trade it's war. In a decision that protects both US steelworkers and politicians in key seats, George Bush has put a 30% tariff on much of the steel imported to America.
Imports were severely affecting our industry. An important industry.
But Australia's an important supplier, $450 million a year, primarily from New South Wales.
This is not a good decision. This is not a good time for this decision.
This is a bit of a body blow there.
The body blow, according to unions, will be widespread job losses.
This could have a significant impact on communities right around Australia.
Canberra, along with Europe and Britain, is threatening to call in the International Trade Umpire, the WTO, to settle the row, but that could take months. The result could have been much worse. US officials wanted a flat 40% tariff, instead a reduced levy which falls every year for 3 years. And the federal government believes we can maintain our market share because the cost of transporting steel within America will make it more expensive than the Australian product.
Then this decision by the Bush administration only means that it is going to be a 30% tax on consumers in the United States.
And Mr Vaile denies this latest row is yet another setback in securing a free trade agreement with our allies. In Canberra, Mitchell Catlin, 7 News.
Investigations are underway after a fireworks factory exploded east of Perth. Workers had to run for their lives while nearby homes and schools were evacuated as fireworks shot into the air.
Flames and fireworks made this emergency just too dangerous to control. Firefighters were kept a kilometre back as rockets tore through the air.
There's thick black smoke ballooning into the air, and there's more rockets. They're tracers. They're just firing into the air in all sorts of directions. Very dangerous for the firefighters on the ground.
Emergency crews were racing to the scene when a terrifying second explosion rocked the region.
The big one went and everything just shattered. Okay. The windows went, the ceiling came down.
The shockwave damaged surrounding homes and caused chaos. Parents were dropping off children at Carmel College when big shards of twisted metal rained down.
What looked like black rubber flying through the sky, there was 20 or 30 big bits, as I was telling you, yeah, of just metal. We found out later as a bit come down, landed in the back of the ute.
2 men in this shed had seconds to escape with their lives. Cardilli Fireworks employee Pat Carina fled as shells exploded behind him.
When we were running, they were just whizzing past.
There's another one. There's rockets leaping into the air from this fire. It's quite spectacular. The explosion sent up a huge plume of smoke that extended right across the metro area and then right out to sea past Rocknest Island.
Amazingly, there were no lives lost. At Fire and Rescue headquarters, they could barely believe their luck. It was a simple accident involving boxes of fireworks, but it could have ended in tragedy.
They've dropped a case on top of another one, and the impact has led to ignition and subsequent explosion.
Reece Whitby, 7 News.
Sydney bus drivers will continue their 48-hour strike tomorrow over a pay dispute. 600,000 commuters had to find alternate transport today, leading to overcrowded trains and ferries, but traffic flowed fairly smoothly. Similar scenes are expected tomorrow. The Industrial Relations Commission has recommended government drivers return to work, but unions say it's too late to call off the strike. Some of Victoria's most senior political advisers have been warned they could be jailed for refusing to front the state's Jobs for the Boys inquiry. Attorney General Rob Hulls has instructed them to ignore summonses, putting them at risk of contempt of Parliament.
The inquiry is probing how Jim Reeves, a close friend of Premier Steve Bracks, was offered the plum job as Urban Land Corporation chief. But the committee, dominated by Liberal and National MPs, was today openly defied by the Labor government.
I've said from the start, it's a sham, it's loaded.
Attorney General Rob Hulls directed key advisers to the Premier, Deputy Premier John Thwaites and Treasurer John Brumby to ignore summonses to appear before the committee.
It's a bit like requiring a priest to give evidence about what occurred in the confessional.
And it's really just this kangaroo court in the upper house trying to get around the rules.
The opposition says the Bracks government's policy to be open, honest and accountable is now in tatters.
The first law officer of the land, the Attorney General, has aided and abetted people defying a subpoena and not coming forward and telling the truth to a parliamentary inquiry.
The Committee of Inquiry is writing to the advisers asking them to reconsider and warning them of the ramifications if they continue to thumb their nose at State Parliament.
The Parliament certainly has the power to take some action.
The ministerial advisers could be found in contempt of the upper house, admonished, fined and at the extreme even jailed. Brendan Donohoe, 7 News.
South Australia's new Labor government was sworn in today, and it was smiles all round for Premier Mike Rann and his 13-member cabinet. Some have waited 8 years for this moment, but for two MPs it's been a meteoric rise to the top. Jay Weatherill and Jane Lomax-Smith are parliamentary first-timers and they've both become ministers. The former Liberal turned independent MP who helped Labor form government, Peter Lewis, is the Speaker of the House. The AFL has reacted angrily to claims from a former player that drug use in sport is rampant. Ex-Sydney Swan Dale Lewis has made the accusation and no one is more furious than his former teammates.
A veteran of 12 seasons in the AFL, Dale Lewis's comments that former teammates and opponents ran the gauntlet of drug testing procedures sent shockwaves through the football world. He claimed around 75% of players in his career may have tried a recreational drug, including marijuana, speed, cocaine and ecstasy. This afternoon, Lewis had somewhat softened his original stance, but still stood by his comments.
I'm not here to name names. It's not a witch hunt. It's not to identify, to say this is this big undercurrent of drugs. My whole issue with the matter is to stress to the kids coming through today, temptation is there wherever you are. Be very, very careful.
But the AFL were incensed, calling an urgent media conference, slamming Lewis's claims.
I think it's an insult to our players. I think it's a blight on the game in many respects.
The AFL says they have one of the strongest anti-drug programs, with only 2 players suspended after returning positive samples. The league will now formally write to Lewis, expressing their serious concern.
I think it was incredibly naive and incredibly stupid.
I wouldn't think it'd be 75%, I think it'd be a lot less, and I'd hope it's a lot less because I think that really drugs in sport, there's no place for them.
Well, I mean, I don't know where Lewis is coming from, but I mean, the guy's he's a Martian.
Jim Wilson, 7 News.
We'll take a break now. Up next, business news and how Pro Heart is using his DNA to protect his paintings.
Adelaide Crows captain and strongman Mark Prosciutto is in form and more determined than ever to beat those pesky Tigers. And with their pre-season semi this weekend, a warning to Richmond.
They're not going to have an easy day.
On 7 News tomorrow night.
Now to business news, and Telstra has posted a fall in half-yearly profits. But as finance reporter Oriel Morrison explains, that did not stop the shares in the company climbing.
Australia's biggest telco is reporting a 20% fall in first half profits, down to $2.1 billion. Data and internet services ate into profits, but it wasn't all bad news as mobile sales grew to over 13%. The result comes in at the higher end of analysts' expectations, which has helped shares in the telco gain 16 cents at $5.50. Telstra's involvement in the pay TV deal is also helping to edge up its share price. Telstra is looking to bundle phone and pay TV operations. Westfield is living up to its advertising slogan. The global shopping mall owner is posting a half-yearly net profit of $88 million. That's an increase of 15%. Westfield says all parts of its business contributed to its success, and the company is confident it will reach a full-year net profit of around $230 million. The acquisition of Rodamco North America is also set to add to final earnings. Westfield certainly is having a good day indeed. Australia's automotive sector is heading for a record year. The Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries says sales of new vehicles jumped 10% last month. Close to 65,000 cars and trucks were sold across Australia. And as expected, the Reserve Bank has announced interest rates will remain steady at 4.25%. Our share market made gains today. Both the All Ords and the ASX 200 gained 15 points. AMP added 20 cents, BHP Billiton dropped 7. The Commonwealth lost 40 at $31.20. The Australian dollar is buying just below 52 US cents, 68 yen and 36 pence. Gold's trading at $294 US an ounce, oil's approaching 23 US a barrel. Overseas markets are mixed despite starting the week on a high note. And that's all from the Finance Centre. Have a great night.
Now, more on the pay TV shake-up and what it means for subscribers. The competition watchdog needs to approve the deal between Foxtel and its rival Optus, a process which could take weeks.
The prospect of losing another $500 million this year forced the pay TV merger. While Optus and Foxtel will stay as separate companies, they'll offer each other's channels to their subscribers.
It is clearly good for the nation. It's good for Foxtel. It's good for Telstra. It's probably even good for Optus.
Maybe, but competition watchdog the ACCC will have the final say on whether it's good for viewers.
There are superficially some considerable benefits for consumers, but everything will depend on the details.
Subscribers will get more channels to choose from. For example, Optus customers will get Fox Sports, while Fox customers will get more music and documentary channels.
We all live in an unpredictable age, but certainly